Okay, so how did I start my tech career? Quite atypically. I was studying philosophy, the most useless and useful subject you can study. And then I went on to be on the creative side of audiovisual media. I became a journalist, editor, a TV director for commercials and so on. Actually, I was always interested in AI. When I studied philosophy, I was back then taking classes about math and artificial intelligence back then, which was in the early 2000s, quite some other technology, but it already gave me the idea, and in the end, it's you know. Philosophy has a lot to do with recognition of things, thought, language, and so on. So yeah, there is, I'm looking for the word, intersection. There's an intersection between philosophy and AI, of course, also in the consequences of the future and so on. But anyway, I was working on the creative side of business, and for me, computer development was kind of like other people going to the gym. Yeah. So after a long time in creative meetings and all this fuzzy creative communication and conversations about nobody knows why something is failing or something is working. You know, you have a very beautiful commercial, but nobody knows why this is working or not. Yeah, there are so many discussions and points to identify, which is quite boring sometimes. And for me, it was computer. Writing code and developing was kind of going to the gym. Yeah? After these long days of discussions and boring stuff, I came home, sat down and wrote some code. Because the nice thing is, yeah, it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, you can really very easily pinpoint what's wrong. Yeah? So my last job in this creative business was I was a consultant for a new German TV station, and I had 3 meetings a week, a huge office, and then they had this question about, yeah, we need some kind of media asset management, and there was this avid interplay stuff around, and really, yeah, not. The solutions back then on the market were not really interesting, and they were not really practical, because this company worked a lot with freelancers, and to train some freelancers on a media asset management, which takes 1 week of training, doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I sat down and write code, and I came up with my first product. It was called Strawberry. It's still around. And it was a quite easy to use media asset management. And then we had the discussion, how should we call it? And at one point I came up, yeah, let's call it production asset management, PAM, instead of MEM. Yeah, so that's how I probably invented this word. Yeah. Anyway, fast forward, after a few years, I already thought AI on the horizon. So 7 years ago, I had a big discussion with my partners. I wanted to go into the AI direction, and my partners were like, yeah, will it ever work? It's risky. How should we sell it? It doesn't exist yet on the market, and so on. And I'm not an administrator. So I was bored of administering a company which is just, making these little development steps driven by customer wishes. Yeah. So I stepped down as a CEO, I sold my shares, and I focused on the current project to bring AI into the media business. And again, fast forward 2 years ago, all this AI stuff exploded, and everybody who said, like, back then, yeah, AI will never be, and AI can never, they are converted overnight to AI expert, which is funny, because they can write prompts. But anyway, so we had the right product at the right time. And that's how we started Obvious Future, because I always knew that it's the obvious future to come. And yeah, we started Obvious Future, and we were the first actually to have this semantic search, contextual search engine out there. Yeah, there was some progress called perceptrons in the 60s, in the early computer science, which were already going into the concept of neural networks. Then there was this kind of winter where there was no innovation happening. And then when this, curiously, when these graphic cards, this powerful GPU graphic cards for gaming came out, they gave a technology which was quite useful for calculating all this math in these neural networks. And so there were a lot of progress already happening in this visual understanding of scenes and so on. But the real progress was really this one paper which introduced this technology, which was the missing link. Yeah? And then like the community started to experiment around with these transformers. It was initially just for text, and they discovered, oh, we can use this for vision, also we can use this for everything. And it was maybe kind of, that's really interesting, surprising, like us humans, because we always thought our language is so complex and so sophisticated, our thoughts, that it's actually possible to, with these building blocks and a lot of power, actually really get close to understand the language, understand our world, understand our concepts, and this was really this explosion. And ChatGPT's advantage, OpenAI's advantage back then was that they had a lot of money and resources to train big models exactly based on this technology. It was not so much this GPT technology, which is quite in the beginning was not so special. It's transformers. But yeah, then they had a lot of money to train really these big models, and that's how all this happened. It's a sociological phenomenon. You know, when enough people start to believe in some technology, it takes off. Yeah? I have 2 hobbies in the morning, 3. I need a coffee. I have to read all news sites from different political directions, because that's what I learned back as a journalist. And third, I'm reading new papers, scientific papers. So it's for me also like it's kind of like a telenovela, because it's an endless story. You know, this paper introduces something, then I don't know, not long after there comes a paper which picks this up and combines this with other technology and so on, and you had so like this acceleration of research happening in the past years before this AI explosion. Yeah, so that it was really obvious, also for me again, okay, we're on the right track. We cannot do it yet, what we wanted, but we knew, okay, we're just missing a few steps and then we're there. So yeah, I think it's for this real old school AI community, old school, I mean 5 to 10 years, yeah, it was obvious that this will come. Okay. You know, a useful tool is always a combination of technology and the usefulness in the end, yeah. So I think what really made Obvious Future successful is that we were not approaching this from a perspective, oh, we have nice technology, let's find an application for it. Happens a lot, yeah. My approach was more, okay, I have a problem, and probably we're very close to find the tool to solve this problem. Yeah, and that's what we did. So and this makes a total different product in the end. Yeah. You know, CaraOne, our first product, is it solves a lot of problems. Actually, it's the thing I always wanted to have. When I was sitting in post-production and you have these tons of material, you shot a tons of footage, and then you have this really boring job of finding stuff, yeah, of organizing stuff. Yeah. We had this picture of the train. Where was it? Did we shoot it there or then? You know, in post-production, you don't shoot linearly, like this, how the story will be in the end. Yeah, you shoot economically. Yeah, you enter a house and then you walk from one place to the next, and you shoot as you're there. Yeah, so and the thing is, you can handle post-production, you can, especially when you work with non-fiction, you have two approaches. Yeah, you have either a fully scripted, already done documentary, for example, or you allow yourself some creativity. And this creativity is just possible when you really can handle your material, and you easily find stuff, yeah, because else you sit forever on the edit. Yeah, if you're ever had a problem, you know if the solution is good or bad. Yeah, if you think somebody else has a problem you never had and you have some solution, and then could work, couldn't work. Yeah, so that's also what we see with our competitors. There are companies which are really, they never step one foot into post-production. Yeah, it's where you clearly see they think. You see them thinking how it could work. Yeah, and the big difference here is, yeah, if someone really encountered a problem, then of course you have a completely different approach to find a solution. Yeah, this AI hype. I knew that it will happen. You always have this dream that these people who are really were driving it will be later in control. But yeah, the thing which, of course, happened is that all these people who are just bullshitter, if you allow this word, are now bullshitting in this industry. Yeah? So spitting phrases and words, they have no idea what they mean. Yeah, and selling snake oil. Yeah? So there are a lot of AI companies around which are can write prompts. That's their understanding of AI. Yeah, so I think we will see now in the next months and years really, the companies who have the right, really also fundamental understanding, which is necessary if you want to develop new products. Because, with new technology, you have two phases. The first phase is the Wright brother phase. Oh, it flies. The plane flies. Yeah. Now we build some planes which fly. And then soon afterwards, you get in the second phase. It's about efficiency. And that's what we currently see with DeepSeek. Yeah? The big surprise of DeepSeek is not that it's almost as good as ChatGPT models. Yeah? It's that it's much more efficient, and it's, the training did cost much less. Yeah? So we have going in this next phase, and when we talk about efficiency, we talk about engineering. We all, with some technical understanding, could maybe build a car, but it would be the most crappy car ever. Yeah. So there you have to have a really fundamental technical understanding about when you build a car, about how combustion works, how material technology is, and so on. to build really an efficient car. And I think that's what will happen now. When we go into this efficiency phase, yeah, we will also see who really understands the technology and who not. Yeah, and that's the thing. What we do with Obvious Future, we are really investing a lot into technology and in engineering. Together with the features, yeah, but we have to deliver something which is really stable and running, and not just a concept, which is a product which is usable. That's the big challenge. Yeah, I don't know. My problem always was I was dancing at too many parties. Yeah. So let's call it this way. Because I studied philosophy and I love mathematics. I love writing. I love art, and I love coding. Yeah, and I did crazy creative stuff on the one side, and I did crazy technological stuff. Yeah, and in between, I love to do crazy mathematics stuff. So I usually don't present myself this way because people want to put you in boxes, yeah. And it's quite funny to meet my former colleagues from the creative side, who see me now in a different role in this technology, and or to tell other people who see me now in this nerd role in technology about my background in the creative side. It confuses people. So I prefer to present as much as possible a simple image of myself. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, this I think to be really successful in this business, you have to have both. Yeah, you have to have a creative approach. You have to have some creative craziness. You have to have some social skills, but you also have to really understand the technology. Yeah, and I mean really understand is really to know what high-dimensional spaces are, what projections are, and so on. All this mathematical stuff. You have to have at least some fundamental understanding of it. Yeah, that's what I think. So currently, in machine learning, you have two approaches. The one is the easy one, the expensive one, which is, okay, we want to have a better model. Let's just add a lot of billions of new parameters. Let's just make it bigger. That's what OpenAI did in the past years. Yeah? Every model was like exponentially larger than the last model. We choose a different approach from the beginning because we know we want to be able to deploy this on-prem, which means on the customer side. We have customers like Hollywood studios who don't even have an internet connection. So they are really air-gapped. There's a concrete wall between their network and the internet because their assets, they have assets which are billions of value. A leaked movie, you lose billions of money. So our goal was from the beginning to have them AI so small that we really can deploy it on premise, and therefore we had always the pressure to work efficient from the beginning. Yeah? So we never went this way, let's build a bigger model and a bigger model to add features. So when we add features, we have to work in this constraint. Yeah? And this actually, to make this work this way, it needs on one side really clever engineering. It's like, again, building a car. You can just put everywhere a huge, 5,000 horsepower engine into it and everything will drive with it, yeah? But it doesn't make any sense economically. So, yeah, that's the engineering part, how to make power that small that it really fits into a compact car or a good car, yeah? And on the other side, yeah, it's technological research. It's really also research on, again, on the mathematical level, which enables us to do all this. Yeah, and there are currently two different approaches. Yeah, the one is this OpenAI approach, is more or less a monolithic model. Which is like a huge brain. Yeah? And the weird thing is, if you ask ChatGPT, can you tell me some cookie recipes? It will pass through this network where all the formulas of quantum physics, all Shakespeare works, all Bible verses in all Bible translations, whatever, everything is stored. Yeah? It's such a waste of resources. Just in the end to come out, oh, take some sugar and whatever, yeah, make your cookies till they're brown. And so our approach is different. Yeah, we use expert models. If I want my cookie recipe, then I ask my cookie model. If I want to know something about quantum physics, I ask the quantum physics model. And that's actually also the same. As we're doing this since the beginning, since 2 years ago, and that's actually also the success of the DeepSeek model. That they have also routing layers, which are then activating just part of the network. It's like in the brain. Yeah? In our brain, when we look at something or read something, other part of the brain is active. Then when we, for example, work creatively or solve whatever, yeah. So that's the idea. We go a few steps further than the approach the DeepSeek has, because we have submodels of submodels and we have pipelines of models. Yeah, so we combine them and route them in the network, which makes us quite flexible, because we don't need to retrain the entire stuff. We just switch compounds there. And we can use, in parts of this, really sophisticated new technology. Like what's our favorite technology right now is what's called Bayesian transformers. It's about Bayesian probabilities, this is now quite tech, but you know, what if I don't just tell you, oh, this is probably a cat or dog or whatever, but I also give you a probability to this, yeah, and say, oh, with this probability it could be this, yeah. So also to predict probabilities. Also have networks which don't use that much training data and so on. So the nice thing on this compound approach, is what I want to say, is that you can be really flexible in exchanging parts without having an entire new architecture. We have different tasks for the AI to do. And like I told before, okay, you can ask ChatGPT about cookies or quantum physics, yeah? And these experts are then just parts. It's like a teamwork, you know. If in a company, if I have a question about marketing, I don't ask the super guru who knows everything. I ask the marketing expert. And the same as if I have like a question about the product development, I ask a product developer. Yeah, not the super guru again. So the open AI approach, the current common approach, is to say, okay, we have a super guru who knows everything, yeah? And they are expensive super gurus to hire. Yeah, so what we do is you can really see this compound as a team of like a team of experts, yeah, like a company, and you have different tasks to do, and this task then gets distributed to different departments or people and so on, or also like played ping pong between departments. Yeah? So marketing departments talk to product development, the product development talks to sales, and so on. So it's an interconnected process, and that's how you can envision our compounds. Yeah? It's not just experts. That you say, okay, we have a question, now who's the expert to answer, like it's the DeepSeek approach. We're going really in this more, it's like not just experts, it's really like an interaction of experts. No, but so these experts are really specialists, and the nice thing is, like currently in this approach with these big models, you have to always change the whole model. Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to change something in my company, I make a total complete new setup from zero of my company. Yeah? And what we can do with this compound approach is we say, okay, if the marketing department doesn't work, let's change there something. And so on. Yeah? So I can really be very granular in my adaptation, in my changes. And that makes us quite This makes it quite quick also to react. So if we have a customer who has some special wish, yeah, special need, we can just change some parts or add some parts to this whole compound without having to really redesign a huge new architecture for this little mission we have to accomplish. Our main sales point, our main advantage is that we offer technology which can run on-premise and not in the cloud. The cloud is quite comfortable actually for companies to implement in the short run. In the long run it gets super expensive and it's a horror and you have all these problems with privacy and so on. But in the short, it's quite easy to implement. Yeah, you have an API key, and you use it. That's it. Yeah. So that's what we compete against when we offer on-prem. So also from the cost, in the cloud you have little to zero initial costs. Yeah, because you pay for what you use. So we have to come up with a solution which is quite similar. That's why we came up with these little AI nodes. So, which means you don't have a huge, I don't know, 500,000, 5 million investment in a data center to start the thing, but you have a little initial investment, and then you can scale it. So you start, like in the cloud, start to use it a bit. And when you realize, okay, I need more resources, you buy new AI nodes to scale it. So this is much closer to this cloud concept. Yeah? So, but also, for us, of course, that these are technical challenges. Yeah, because we have to develop models which run on this smaller, less powerful hardware. And also, but which can also scale across this hardware when you cluster it and so on. But yeah, so the thing is also companies who adopt AI, they don't have the expertise yet. Yeah, so it's not your 10th car you buy and you exactly know what you want from a car and what's good and bad. It's your first car usually. It's the first AI they buy, so they have no idea about which to choose, yeah. And also, yeah, in big companies, you cannot do, you don't get rewarded when you do something like a genius right decision. You usually don't get rewarded when you do something wrong, yeah. And now making the decision between like spending 5 million for something, or like a little amount for this AI node, which is even under the procurement threshold that you have to make really this whole administrative process. It's much less risk, yeah. And that's again like a point for us, yeah. While we have this less risk as you have it in the cloud, you have all the advantages of being on-prem. No, so what we aimed for from the beginning was to run our software on-premise, which means run it without internet connection if necessary. That was a lot of effort we put into it to run this on these small machines, which are then scalable, of course, but yeah, run it to a hardware price which doesn't go into the millions, which doesn't need a supercomputer on-prem. So yeah, why is this on-prem so important? Yeah, these days most of AI actually it runs in the cloud because it cannot run on-prem, because it's too big to run on-prem and it would cost millions or billions to build a data center to run it on-prem, which is of course, no company can afford this. So it has to run in the cloud, and when we use ChatGPT, for example, we communicate with the servers in the cloud, and then it sounds like nice, easy to use. You can write an API and call this, but yeah, you're running a lot of problems. And of course, the most obvious is privacy. So everything you send there, you can never be sure, is it really secure? Is somebody intercepting it? If it's used to train the models, yeah, you have no guarantee about this. Yeah, this privacy issue is even worse because when do you use AI usually? You use it when you do something innovative, when you do research, when you, in media cases, when you produce some new movie, when you produce a really good documentary, when you do news. It's all stuff you don't want to broadcast to anybody. Or you do some research, write a paper, write a contract. That's actually the core stuff, which is that's actually the core stuff which you want to keep in-house. And so there's a contradiction. A, I want to use AI for really my edge stuff in business, and B, oh, I'm broadcasting my edge stuff in business somewhere out to the internet. Yeah, so that's the one huge problem. You know, companies often have compliancy to follow, so they're not even allowed to do this. Yeah, and it doesn't make sense from a security and safety standpoint. That's the one thing. The other thing is, for example, that these cloud models, they cannot be really adapted. So, because they're huge, you're sharing them. They're shared resources. When you talk with ChatGPT, it's not your ChatGPT. It's like this huge model which then gives you a little bit of time to handle your request. So they're shared resources, and therefore you cannot like change them individually. You can train adapters which do a little bit of tweaking around, yeah, to customize them, or prompt engineering and so on. But you cannot change the model because, yeah, it's shared. And this shared concept of shared resources also has a huge impact on, for example, latency. If I share something with a lot of others, I don't know. If you use ChatGPT, you realize sometimes the answers are quite quick. Yeah. So you ask a question, there's the answer, and then sometimes you really wait long. And it's not because the model is thinking now that long, but it's just because it handles a lot of requests. Yeah. So you have no guaranteed response time, yeah. And the other problem with these APIs is you bet on a horse you don't own. For example, in our cases, we have customers who have like 50 years of archive, and now this archive gets indexed by the cloud AI, which means you pay for every hour a lot. What happens if this company goes bankrupt? You lose all the access to your assets. Or it gets acquired by Google, and Google is famous for switching off APIs. They give you a 1 year notice and say, okay, in 1 year we will switch off this API. And you paid all this money for your assets, and then they are lost. So it makes a lot of sense to be in control of your AI. It will be, and already is in many parts, a core part of your business, and why you should outsource this. Yeah. Cloud has really a bunch of problems. It's privacy horror, and it's deployment horror, and it's a huge risk factor if it gets turned off. So on-prem means that it's really something you own, and that means that it's you don't have the privacy risk because it can run in the private cloud, of course, or it can run in the server room. So you really have full control over it. You have full control on the service, as long as you run it, it runs, it will be never switched off, So the investment you do by, like, for example, indexing your media assets, you keep this forever. And another aspect, we talk about the customization. What we can offer really very customized solutions for clients. We did now one project for one of the major science fiction franchises, where we trained CaraOne on this whole science fiction universe. You have all these planets, they have different trees and different atmosphere and moons and whatever, and you have spaceships and you have parts of spaceships and so on. So what we did, and we can do it because they are our models, we invented it, we can then really customize this and provide an experience which really fits the need of the user from ground up. And that's the big difference, because these cloud models, they're shared resources, you cannot customize them, you can a little bit tweak them, but we can really go deep into it and say, okay, we had another project where we trained on motocross drivers. They are very hard to identify because they wear a helmet and a full body outfit and more or less similar motorcycles. So then we can go, and that's what we did quite successfully, and train CaraOne to really identify these individual drivers. That's something you cannot do in the cloud, because that's this one model and one size fits all. And it's ridiculous because you don't go to buy clothes one size fits all and then maybe add a belt to make it the trousers not fall down. And that's what these actual adapters do in these cloud models. It's a belt that you don't lose your trousers, but they look So we can really tailor them, and we can offer tailored AI solutions. And because we also do a lot of research, really on university level, you can also come up with really unique AI solutions which really fit there. So on-prem is the way to go, and I think it will be the future. What we also see is, in general, software as a service. People learned their lesson. So everybody who uses, for example, Adobe products knows that it gets quite costly. It sounds so cheap, you just pay this and that. And now imagine you don't just buy the license, you buy, you don't pay the license monthly, but you pay then for every hour you produce. And everybody who ever worked in post-production knows it just gets more and more every day. And so this software as a service, it's really getting problematic. There's a differentiation between active and passive assets. So active assets are stuff I really use in production, and passive assets on the other side are stuff I might use. And doing this cloud calculation where I have to pay rent for my assets which I might use, it's like paying rent for a huge storage space, expensive rent, of things I might use one day. So it makes also people realize, okay, it makes economically less and less sense. So therefore, we offer CaraOne also as a CapEx model. So it's really something you buy now and you own forever. If preferred, we can also like lease it and have such agreements. But yeah, that's usually where the trend is going and where what the industry wants. Yeah, and it especially makes sense if it's something really which is more and more than core of your whole business. So no, our customers are really happy that we offer this as CapEx, yeah, and not just as a service, because they learn the lessons. So they learn the lessons. The thing is, cloud is always, you know, it's like a drug. Yeah, you get it for free in the beginning. So you have no initial costs, and yeah, and it's like, you know, like a drug dealer who comes and yeah, you want to try this, and yeah, pay me later, and I deliver you something, and at the end of the month you pay, and then they get hooked on it, and everything goes there, and the costs are just rising and rising, and you pay every month more and more and more. So yeah, businesses learned the lesson that it's like a drug, yeah? And that it's not something, that's something which is killing you. Especially, you know, imagine CaraOne is in creative business, and everybody who is in the creative business knows that sometimes you have a lot of things to do, and then there are months where there's nothing happening. Yeah, there are no productions going on and so on, but you pay the cloud month and month and months. That can be then really kill you. So, yeah, going back to a model which works for centuries, really good, like owning things, yeah, or at least leasing things, and you know, having control over it makes more and more sense in this way. Yeah. There's always this difference between technology and a product. And the big difference between is called engineering. So, you know, having a technology, it sounds so easy. You just bring and I have a product. But then you discover, oh, I have nothing. Yeah. So we invested years to get this technology to run all this AI on-prem on these AI nodes in a really stable way, because you know, when you run, for example, when we were talking about, for example, we have film studios who don't even have an internet connection. So what does it mean? From our side as software developers or software providers, we cannot remotely log in and install an update or fix something. We cannot like update automatically from the computer. So we have to provide really German engineering. We're a German company, but in this way German engineering, because it's something which has to run without our intervention. Yeah? What does it mean? Again, like building a good German car, you have to put a lot of engineering into it. And that's actually some expertise we gained. Engineering goes close together with research, really knowing the material you're working with, and then come up with solutions. And there we learned a lot in the past years developing CaraOne. And we know that this expertise we're having, these compound models we developed, we can use them also in other business verticals than just media and entertainment. And that is something we are currently exploring. We are approached from different sides who see, okay, yeah, having the AI on-prem or having the AI isolated from the internet and not streaming our top secret data to a third party makes sense. Yeah? For example, you have a camera watching your top secret research lab. And now you stream this camera to whoever across the internet, and it doesn't make sense. Yeah? then you can stream your research data also or make it open. Yeah, so this is one of the applications. Yeah, where you can say, yeah, why not connect this to a local AI? So yeah, it more and more sectors realize that this is the future to go, and we have the technology, we have the engineering, we have the package to do it. You know, these days we have big discussions about AI replacing people, AI replacing creatives, and so on. Yeah? And that are discussions we have to take really serious. There are two ways to look into the future of AI. The one is these agents. And agents are, I don't know, I don't like them because they are these ones, okay, I have an agent and he replaces you. He takes your job, yeah? And then you have this other approach, you can look at AI as something which actually enhances us, our abilities. That's what I call symbiotic AI. And the symbiotic AI means like it enhances our perception or our output and so on, takes away the boring stuff that we can focus on the important stuff, guiding our focus and so on. And I don't know, probably a lot of people are already using this way, because when you have ChatGPT helping you to write something, but it's your idea, but it helps to express it and bring it into form. Yeah, that's something where AI enhances us instead of replacing us. And with CaraOne, our approach was and is we want to have something like this. We don't want to replace the editor. We don't want to take jobs. We want to make the editor much, much more efficient. In two ways, two dimensions. One, more efficient in the output they generate, and the other in the quality. And that's exactly the feedback we get from our customers. So we work closely with our customers and watch how they're using it and what are the project they're using it on. And we really get this feedback, oh, without CaraOne, it would take us like 5 times more time to find this. You have documentaries which have, I don't know, how many thousand hours of footage collected over years. Finding the assets there, building the stories there, that's the one thing. So we were accelerating the output, and which is important these days, because usually media production happens now on different levels. You play out to different platforms. You create different output from the same material. That's the one thing. So this accelerates the production, and the other thing, which is I think more interesting, is it raises the quality, and actually it makes even things possible that were not before. We have one client of us, one customer of us, they did now a Netflix show where they had like, I think 30 years of archive footage of a comedian. And they had to build the show of this, yeah? And they said to us, it would not be possible without CaraOne, without the search capabilities of CaraOne, You have a comedian making a joke about a topic, and now you can go 30 years across finding jokes about this topic. Yeah, much easier to create stories with this. Yeah, and I know from my time back in post-production, I loved the job, and I hated the job. Let's say even like I loved 20% really from my heart, and I hated 80%. Deepest, yeah. And what was this 80%? The 80% is this, where is this picture? Where did she say this? Yeah, or even knowing you're out with a camera team and you can have logging and so on, but they shoot something while you look in the other direction, or you talk with somebody and they find the perfect picture, yeah? And later at post-production, you wouldn't even know that it exists, yeah? So having really an assistant who's working with you and helping you to build the stories. That takes away the 80%, and in this 20% you can really make a nice montage of things. You can work with the timings long and make it really amazing looking, yeah? And the same is what we do with our prediction model. You know, it's not that we produce a finished clip. No, we work together with the editor. We help them by proposing how to continue the sequence. They can accept it or it can go another way. We help them to do, you know, all these standard sequences of establishing something. Yeah, you do an interview, like with me here now. We have to somehow establish this interview, and we can do it in a standard way, like going into the room or going to the house and so on. There's this standard language, visual language, which is used, and you know, now the editor could look, okay, where did we shot this and that to exactly build this way? Or AI can just help me. And also with this predictive model, when we started experimenting with it, we discovered, oh, this can be quite nice to really offer a new, different approach to editing. And I was working on both sides, on scripted and non-scripted, and always what I love on scripted, like producing commercials or stuff, yeah? You have storyboards, and storyboards are super useful, and you can sit down and play around and discover different ways of telling the story and adapting it. But you know, in non-scripted, you don't have it. You have just the material you shot. So we really discovered, okay, when we had this predictive AI, we can use it to actually let the editor, the user, play around with it. Build storyboards, explore different ways to tell a story. You can tell the story in 5, 6 different ways, and one is probably the best, yeah? And you have to find it. And so really playing around like a mind map with, you know, branching off and so on and dragging around. That's, for example, what we do now in our predictive editing, which that's also the feedback we're getting from early adopters, which really changes the way and quality of playing with stories, yeah, and discovering stories. And I think, yeah, AI, you can see, as I said, you can see AI as replacing the job, or you can see AI as like a playful partner, yeah? And actually, while most people are using, for example, ChatGPT to get answers, that's for me the boring stuff. What I usually use ChatGPT for is to be like a sparring partner. You know, I have an idea and concept, and then I ask me the rest questions about it. Yeah, so we have to think outside of the box with AI usage, yeah? And really find AI and develop AI which makes us much better and strengthen our skills and focus our skills. And that's the way to go, and that can be really fun, and that's also the feedback we're getting, like playing around with this storyboard. It's fun, yeah, and that's it. You know, if somebody tells me, "Oh, that's fun," and it's actually a software for work, yeah, then I say, "Okay, that we did something right." Yeah. Yeah. So CaraOne, we want to make it like really an assistant which covers a lot of the post-production work, which supports it. Yeah? And for example, what we will release now is an interview tool. You know, imagine you have this interview now with me here, and then you want to edit a story about me talking about the cloud, yeah? And what their advantages and disadvantages and so on. And again, you can tell this story in a lot of different ways. So what we do now, what CaraOne allows now is that you just enter the topic. Okay, For example, advantages and disadvantages of cloud, or what's the problem with cloud? That's a nice headline. Yeah, what's the problem with cloud? And then you ask CaraOne, and CaraOne will pick pieces from the interview and put them in the right order to already have a frame of a story. Yeah? So maybe telling first the introduction, what it means to be in a cloud, then maybe telling, okay, focusing on the different issues you have, and then maybe coming to a conclusion. Yeah? So that's, for example, one feature we are releasing now, and again, that's actually not something where we replace the editor, but it's make it much easier because it has already a structure. They can accept it, they can play around with the structure, they can change it, and so on. Another feature we're working on is, for example, that you know, the boring thing, for example, in TV, is this standard archive, whatever, stock footage stories, yeah? Inflation in January was that and that %. And every editor is like, oh. Because you have your gas station, you have somebody paying in the supermarket, and so on, yeah? And because, you know, TV without some pictures is boring. We don't need talking heads on TV. Yeah? So having this kind of illustration proposed again from the AI, you don't get it finished editing. It's proposed, okay, there is your gas station. Oh, here we have the supermarket. Close up of somebody paying, yeah? Then it makes the boring work easier again. Yeah? So that's also one feature. And then what we also integrating is it's less obvious, but the users will feel it. We found out a really nice method of constantly having CaraOne adapt to the user's preferences. Yeah. So if you're more into green cars than red cars, CaraOne will learn over time to rank the red cars up. And it's not just about like simple things like cars, but really like about the aesthetics and the lighting and so on. Yeah. So CaraOne picks up and learns to understand you, which is a huge challenge from the machine learning side, because usually machine learning happens on huge data sets, like billions of data, yeah, like billions of clips and hours of. But you know, the interaction from the user, we get from the user, it's quite little data. Yeah? So this was, for example, a huge challenge for us technologically, to get something really working with this little of training data and have it also constantly adapt, because maybe the user changes, you know, the color, the fashion of colors changes, so we have also to constantly adapt it. Yeah. So this is more than an invisible feature we have, but which will also make the experience much better. Yeah, the future of obvious future is quite obvious. Yeah. We have a huge expertise in this, what we call resident AI. It's this running really sophisticated AI technology boils down on location. And we are not just enhancing this for the media and entertainment market, we also go for every other application there. So in general, I see the trend in AI going to this owning this stuff. And we had now there from the business side, like industry side, businesses, they want to own the AI and to run it on their own premise or in their own cloud. And there is a nice thing now happening. Yeah, we are the ones who make the models smaller and smaller and more efficient and building these compounds. Yeah, we are like making it smaller. And on the other side, there's this different trend, Moore's law, from the hardware side. The hardware gets more and more powerful and smaller and smaller. So there's this one interesting point in the future where these two lines will obviously cross. And then it gets interesting for me because then we're in this really symbiotic AI. And I tried a lot of these AI gadgets and smart glasses and so on, or even the chat with ChatGPT, the voice chat. There's a big problem. It's the latency. So the user experience in these AI applications is horrible. What does it mean? We need something local. And the other thing with symbiotic AI is, like, if it's really enhancing my perception, my intellect, my knowledge, everything, yeah? I want to have it always with me. It's like not I want to give up half of my brain somewhere and be half stupid now, yeah? So when you really look at it in the long run, we want to have a 24/7, always-on, personal symbiotic AI, which is existing with us symbiotically. Which also means, do I really want to stream my bedroom to OpenAI to the cloud? All my private discussions online. I mean, I love using ChatGPT, and I'm even using ChatGPT sometimes in a way that I'm asking some psychological advices or life advices. And it feels weird. It already feels weird to go deeper into some topics. So I would prefer to have it really with me, on me, part of me, yeah, because it's part of me, it's part of my life, and I don't want to have half of my brain on somewhere on the server in America. So that's where, when we meet these points, obvious future is prepared from the software side, yeah, and the hardware side is like exploding anyway these days. So yeah, that's for me the long-term future, and that's the future I want to have with AI, really as something which is always with me, without being there, without being obvious, and that's also what we try in the user interface design of CaraOne, for example. It's far away from my final vision about being really transparent, but we want to have a user experience which is really feeling so natural for the user that it doesn't even think it's an AI. And ChatGPT is far away from this because that's really weird. We are using a chat like we did in the 90s. I'm old enough to know ICQ and MSN and so on, this chat software. We're chatting again in this way. It doesn't really feel like science fiction, or? So I think the future of AI will be much more, much more latent. Yeah. So, for example, I walk on the street and I have my glasses and they darken and some part brightens up. There's my friend. I wouldn't have seen it. Yeah. Like guiding my view. I think this will be really the future of AI, where I don't have even recognized that I'm interacting, because you're not interacting with AI anymore. You're and the AI are like really a symbiosis. And I don't know. That's my long-term vision, and that's I hope we will achieve soon. Yeah. When we ride a bicycle, do we have the feeling that we are riding the bicycle? We're just like rushing through the nature, for example. Yeah, we are not thinking that we're on a bicycle. The same when I'm driving a car and I'm going a nice mountain road. I don't think, oh, I'm driving a car. I'm part of the car. And I think that's the future of AI. The AI will be like as natural as the real experience. Will it lie to us? Will it manipulate us? Not if we don't want to. Yeah. So it's not necessarily dystopian. I see the dystopian part of AI more in the the question is always, I wrote an article about this. AI is as neutral as a kitchen knife. Yeah, you can cut the cake for grandmother's birthday, or you can kill someone. And the same is with AI. So AI doesn't have a will itself. Yeah? It's the will we are giving them. And if there is a human behind it, that's fine. The only danger I see is, and I think there we have to really take care, is if some publicly traded company is behind it. Because then you ask about the utility of the AI, and the utility is just the share price. And there's no more human behind it, because the human is isolated from the share price. Yeah? So there I see the danger. I think there we need to take care, but else I think we probably will have a nice future.